Welcome back to the SENWA studios out here at Optus Stadium. 13 12 55 is the Bowra and Dode open line if you want to ring and have a chat to us about anything. Someone who has done that is Paul from Dianella. He wants to talk about the West Coast Intra-Club. Paul, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Duff, and good morning. I watched the Intra-Club match on Saturday, and I love a lot of what Mini has done over the pre-season, and I think we saw some really good glimpses of that on the weekend. There were three guys in the B team, the blue team, that I really hope he gives an opportunity on either in round one or early, and that's Elijah Hewitt, Tyrell Dewar, and also Ryan Marrick. And I think those sort of guys epitomise what Mini is trying to bring to the team, and I really hope he keeps an open mind as to the composition of the round one team, because I think those are the guys that are going to lead us forward, and I have a great faith in the new game plan and what he's trying to achieve.
Don't be too concerned about how they line up for a game like that. I mean, what will tend to happen in a game like that is that the coach will want to keep his forward six fairly intact, and he'll want to keep his back six fairly intact, and he'll want to make the midfield a bit of a contest, so there will be a bit of mixing and matching in and around the middle. I think you'll get a strong guide to how Andrew McWalter and down at Fremantle how Justin Longmuir are looking when they line up for their practice matches at the weekend. So obviously West Coast versus North Melbourne in Bunbury on Saturday, and Fremantle versus Melbourne in Mandurah on Sunday. I think they'll be the games in which you'll get a fair indication as to which way they're pointed ahead of their round one games. Paul, thank you very much for your call.
Thanks, Duff.
Well, the Champions Trophy is underway in Pakistan and also in Dubai. Daniel Cherny joins us on the line. Daniel, Virat Kohli is back, but how did Pakistan host a home game in Dubai against India? How does that come about?
Add it to the only in cricket file, Duff. Very much on brand for India, Pakistan and the ICC. It was quite a long saga leading into this tournament, which has been slated to be held in Pakistan for several years. There was a lot of toing and froing as to what would happen, and after a lot of negotiation, they decided that probably the most likely outcome eventuated India playing all their games in Dubai, but including the one against Pakistan, who are in their group, who are the primary hosts of the tournament. The agreement there, at least, the small victory for Pakistan means that any future, they won't have to go to India, I believe, in the future, the foreseeable future either. So it's a little bit of a compromise there. But it's a sad state of affairs. Obviously, there's a much bigger geopolitical issue that stretches back decades. But a bit of, highly unfortunate that you get India and Pakistan playing in Dubai rather than in Pakistan when Pakistan are hosting a tournament. And Pakistan are pretty much done now. They've lost their second game for the tournament. It's a very cutthroat event, the Champions Trophy. They got rolled by New Zealand, and then just nowhere near enough against India overnight in Dubai. Virat Kohli, as you said, making a century, but it really did. It was very consistent with a lot of the Pakistan-India matches in recent times, where you've had Pakistan sort of just not batting quite aggressively enough, having a bit of a collapse, posting a score that's just not enough to really threaten India, and India doing it in a canter as they did, and they've now won 2 from 2, having beaten Bangladesh in their opening game.
Is Virat back, or is we still waiting to see whether he's able to overcome thinking his off stump is somewhere west of the Blue Mountains?
Look, I think Virat, ODI cricket has always been a very strong format for Virat Kohli, so I don't think the concerns, not to say he didn't have somewhat of a slump in that format, but nowhere near the one that he had in Test cricket. So I think in ODIs he's still a force. When he was outstanding in last year's World Cup, 2023's World Cup, I should say, in which obviously they were picked by Australia in the final. But Virat made a lot of runs in that tournament. He's the master of the run chase in ODI cricket. I've lost track of the stats, but he's broken all sorts of records in ODI cricket, even as ODI cricket has actually faded as a bit of a force on the cricket landscape. So is he back? I suppose to a degree here. And it's no insignificant feat in your mid-30s to be scoring international centuries in any context, particularly against your arch rivals at still a relatively major tournament, albeit the Champions Trophy doesn't quite cut through in Australia like it may in some other places. But I'll certainly reserve judgment as to whether he's back from a Test cricket perspective until they go to England in the middle of the year. And you're right, he does have that sort of off stump tested by England's quicks.
Yeah, I think it's not even the off stump being tested. Anywhere in the same suburb as the off stump is enough for Virat to have a nibble at it in a Test match. And you hit the nail on the head, Daniel, with your description of this situation with India and Pakistan not playing each other in their home country. It's sad. We've got, arguably the fiercest rivalry in international cricket, and they can't do home and away. And I know there are bigger forces politically at play here, but jeepers, it's a sad state of affairs when the game's greatest rivalry is going to have to be played on neutral venues somewhere.
And not only that, I mean, they don't play bilateral series at all. I mean, they only play at these global events or at the Asia Cup as well. So we're talking here 1 or 2 games a year, really maximum. They haven't played a Test in a long time. We're talking close to 2 decades now. There have been proposals to have them play a Test match on neutral territory, but there just doesn't seem to be enough of a momentum behind that for that to eventuate. I mean, it would be incredible to see. I certainly know that the MCG has put its hand up. I'm sure grounds all over the world would. I mean, you'd pack it out anywhere, I would have thought. There's actually a doco on Netflix at the moment about the India-Pakistan cricket rivalry, but unfortunately, look, you go back to the 2008 Mumbai bombings, and it really that really was the big turning point there. Unfortunately, there's just huge suspicion and ill will both ways since that tragic event, and unfortunately, you just can't see it happening anytime soon.
Let's get on to something better and brighter. The run chase of the Australians against England on the weekend. What a run chase, and what an innings from Josh Inglis.
A terrific showing from Australia, Duff, and a really fine victory. I mean, I'm not sure it necessarily means they are, definitely going to win this event, or that they are even the team to beat. But in any case, whatever happens from here for the remainder of the tournament, to chase down a score of that size, having been in pretty shaky ground early in the chase, losing Travis Head and Steve Smith pretty early, and then again after. Matt Short and Marnus Labuschagne actually consolidated the situation reasonably well. To lose them again, for Josh Inglis and Alex Carey and then Glenn Maxwell at the end to pull Australia out of the fire, fantastic effort. I mean, Inglis really, he's a very good three-format cricketer, three-format batter. He's got a lot of different shots. He's three-dimensional. I saw a look at sort of his scoring range, and it's sort of, I think England bowled quite straight to him. Because they're so worried about him scoring through cover, and then he just got him off his pads and dominated through the leg side. And we know that he's also a very capable player in terms of playing some of those funkiest shots, some of the ramps and the real 360-degree type shots. But he's a very good cricketer, and I think it's one of the really nice stories of Australian cricket this year that both he and Alex Carey have been jostling for spots across both formats. And obviously Carey has held Inglis at bay with the gloves in Test cricket for now. Inglis took the gloves back in the 23 World Cup, but they have both been able to play together in both Test cricket in Sri Lanka and now in one-day cricket at the Champions Trophy in the middle order together, and both thrive. And it's given Australian selectors a bit to think about. I do wonder if Alex Carey would have had this sort of resurgence if not for the pressure put on him by Josh Inglis. And that's nothing to do with Alex Carey's mental game or anything. It's more around, has the rise of Josh Inglis forced Carey to sort of play a few more shots and sort of find a bit more attacking verve in his game, which he has found. So, no, a great chase. They was obviously a very depleted side. Some interesting selections, leaving out Aaron Hardy, which was unfortunate for him, but he just hasn't quite done enough in his sort of extended run in the ODI team. They brought in Ben Dorshus as more of a matchups thing ahead of Sean Abbott. And for the most part, it paid off. They backed in the guys that they had and, did very well.
Do we have to just, or do the Australian selectors have to just get to a point where they're comfortable picking Inglis as a batter in the Test team? Although I have to say, Carey was pretty handy in the field the other day as well. He took 2 absolute screamers. But given that Carey is going to be the Test keeper and is batting very well on top of being the Test keeper, are we comfortable just saying Josh Inglis can play in the Test team as a top 6 batter?
It is one of these real quirks where you have Carey keeping in Test cricket and Inglis keeping in one-day cricket, and that sort of people on social media saying, "Well, why is it this? Why is it this way? What's the reason?" People, when it was sort of reported that Inglis was going to keep in this match, people saying, "Oh, surely if Carey's playing, he keeps." But no, I suppose that the sense is that Carey's the clear number one in Test cricket, Inglis is the clear number one in one-day cricket, and they don't want to rock the sort of the continuity in case they have to tinker around the edges and leave just sort of, I suppose, the understudy out and can't pick them as a specialist batter. But to answer the primary question, yeah, I think Inglis, they've shown already he can play as a specialist batter. I think they were very close to doing so over the Test summer. The fact that he was the spare batter across the Test squad for most of the Test series against India showed that he was right there. I think they think him more as a middle order prospect than a top order prospect. But if Travis Head went out, I think it'd be Josh Inglis probably replacing him. And we know that there's this big squeeze coming on for the World Test Championship, given the return of Cameron Green. You've got Inglis there. Sam Constance obviously could be in heavy considerations. And Marnus Labuschagne, I suppose, struggling from a Test perspective, albeit made a very important contribution the other night.
He did. Important runs for Marnus. I think obviously important runs for Australia. 351 is a great run chase under any circumstances, but to do it with the aplomb the Aussies did it was quite something. Now, we've got an epic bowling attack, haven't we? We've got three great fast bowlers and a great spinner. They're all well into their 30s now. How are we looking in terms of a succession plan for our Test bowling attack, Daniel? How do you see that shaping up over the next couple of seasons?
Well, I say somewhat facetiously that the strongest understudy there is the guy who's going to turn 36 in a couple of months' time, and Scott Boland.
Scotty Boland, yes, good point.
And there's a pretty good next cab off the rank. But look, it's a little bit of a worry, I think, in the really long term. You look at this tournament here, and I just look across the formats. I think someone like Nathan Ellis is a very, very good option in one-day cricket and white ball cricket. So I think he at least ticks off one box there. Spencer Johnson was shaky the other night, but I think I think he's going to be a pretty good player for Australia in the medium term as the sort of the next cab off the rank to replace Mitchell Stark as the left arm express. But yeah, from a Test cricket perspective, it is a bit up in the air. A lot of guys have been there and thereabouts. Obviously, Jai Richardson has been long anointed for a long time. Has had a taste of it. Has done well when he's had a taste, but injuries have continued to cool his career, and even as recently as a month or so ago when he had that further shoulder surgery. So they are hoping that he'll be around for next summer's Ashes series. Lance Morris seems to have just stagnated a bit, having been anointed as the next big thing 2 or 3 summers back. Certainly young enough to still be a contender. Look, there are other guys around the country. Xavier Bartlett's a really fine young bowler in Queensland, or not that young, he's sort of in his mid-20s, but plenty of cricket ahead of him as well. You've got guys coming through like Fergus O'Neill in Victoria and Jordan Buckingham in South Australia, neither of whom are express, but are sort of quite crafty bowlers. So there are guys there, but look, unfortunately, and this is the nature of when you have 3 guys who just hold down their spots so consistently, and then from the spinning perspective line, it makes it 4. I think the spin, they're actually not in a bad spot. I mean, they're leaving to one side what the future holds Matt Kuhneman in the medium term. I think with Bob Murphy and Corey Roccacioli, they've got a couple of very good off-spin options, and Tanvir Sanger is coming on nicely as a leggy. But what happens is when you have guys who hold down their spots so consistently for so long, that inevitably means that if they all leave at once in the vacuum, and I suppose they will be hoping that there is enough of a staggered effect there that they don't all go at once and vacate their spots. And I suspect they won't. And I think Cummins is a fair bit younger than the other 2. But Hazelwood, we've seen with his body, it is a bit of a concern. And they'd want to be getting 1 or 2 of the next-gen guys, at least a bit of a taste, I think, in the next year or 2.
Corey Roccacioli, you mentioned him briefly. Obviously, Todd Murphy's there as well. Where would Corey, obviously 9 wickets at the Gabba, which is not traditionally a spinner's wicket, but he did very well in the recent Shield game. Where would he sit in that pecking order? Obviously, this is a West Australian perspective question.
Oh, for sure. No, he's right up there. He's very, very close. I think they really would have agonised between him and Murphy as the second offie for the tour of Sri Lanka. Murphy, didn't bowl quite as well as you would have hoped. I don't think he bowled terribly, but only took the 1 wicket, and Kuhneman and Lyon did the damage, and then obviously get dropped for team balance for the second test. But I think when you're looking at, the reality is that Nathan Lyon is still going very, very well, and he wants to play till 2027. So if his body, unless his form drops off dramatically, and or his form does, then the reality is the opportunity to be a regular player for Australia as a spinner, given that they really only ever going to pick 2 spinners in Asia or maybe occasionally the West Indies, means the opportunity is going to be few and far between for the next few years still. Corey is 27, I think. He's still young enough to still be a force by the time Lyon you'd expect finishes up. So, but he's right there. I mean, we've seen that with the Australia A selection. I think, as I said, it would have been a very close call with Murphy. I think he'd be in the frame for the Windies tour, depending on how many spinners they took. Probably just misses, but he's very close. He's improving all the time. He's done wonderfully well. He's really engaging, sprightly, bit quirky character, Corey, and got a lot of time for him. So hopefully it's onwards and upwards for him.
Daniel, thanks for joining us on the show, mate. Look forward to your coverage of the Champions Trophy and other cricket matters coming up. You can read Daniel on Code Sports. He's a very, very fine writer. Thanks for joining us, mate.
No dramas, Duff. Good on you, mate.
Dan Cherny from Code Sports. We'll be back with more after the break.